Today I'm going to give you a peek into my design process. Hi, I'm Lynn. Welcome to my channel. Join me on my journey as I sew, knit, and craft my way through my stash, exploring creative possibilities, stretching my imagination to fulfill my stash's potential and bring it to life. Last week I showed you what I was working on, and most of it's mindless projects, but I didn't want to start anything new until I finished something. Due to sub-freezing temperatures, ice, power outages, and no water, the world as I knew it came to a grinding halt. And I was able to finish the blanket I was knitting. I still have to give it a good steam, which I will do once I have water again, which is supposed to be today or tomorrow. We are at the end of Snowvid 2021, or Snowpocalypse, as it's been christened here in Texas. And it was safe enough for me to run this morning, and I'm getting back into my regular routine, and it feels good. I'm ready for a new project. I've been thinking about what life will be like post-COVID, and one of the things that I really want to do more of is attend theatrical and artsy types of events, and I'd like to dress up for them. Maybe all those costuming videos are rubbing off on me. Anyway, I currently have nothing appropriate given that I've spent most of the previous year in yoga pants and a t-shirt. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you my design process as I create an outfit for such an event. Now, when you are working with a client, you have to work within the constraints of a design brief, which is basically the specifications of the project. It answers the questions such as, what is the purpose of the design? Who is the end user? What is the budget? What medium are you going to use? Etc., etc. But when you are creating your own design, you have the freedom to do whatever you want. But it's still a good idea to create a design brief. While I know I want this to be an outfit for an event, I want to answer questions in my initial research phase to narrow down my options in that brief, such as what materials will I use? Do I want to use something I have in my stash? If I have to buy something, what fibers will work best with the fit and the drape that I want? What is my color story? What silhouette do I want the garment to be? What type of fit do I want? And what other considerations should I take into account, such as comfort? Will it be scratchy? Can I sit in it comfortably? Will I always be tugging at something? Will it be warm or cool enough? How will it be washed? And the most important question of all is, what is the overall feeling I want to have when I put on this garment? I've had this idea for a free-form Irish crochet jacket in my head for a long time, so I figured this was a good starting point. And I always begin my process by looking at Pinterest or going through my journals and books. Before I had started, my initial thought was a T-length dress with a circle skirt and a fitted hip-length jacket that flared out or had a peplum at the waist to go with the circle skirt. But then I came across this design by Erte. This one here. I really like the proportions of this look. I like how it has the volume on the top with this fitted skirt on the bottom. And this got me thinking about doing a column dress with a kimono type drag jacket. I think this will be a really elegant and artsy look to have a slim dress with a voluminous jacket. Once I got this idea, I remembered a look in this book, So Many Dresses, So Little Time by Tanya Whalen. This book is a great value, especially when you look at the cost of individual patterns. So I paid $29.99 for this book, and I got a variety of bodices, skirts, necklines, and sleeve options that I can mix and match to create over 200 different looks. So if you can still find it, get it. It's worth the money. I really like the look of this bias skirt. However, I would never, ever, ever do a strapless top. I don't have the boobs to hold it up, and I found out the hard way when I flashed them at my brother's wedding. True story. Anyway, embarrassing moments aside, I love the drape of the skirt and how it's like liquid and it just seems to flow down the body. What I'm realizing as I have been looking at my wardrobe and redoing it is that drape is really important to me. I want my fabrics to be soft and flowy. I want them to skim my body, not hug it. I don't like tight clothing. I also found this vintage knitting pattern for this column dress here. However, I think the lacy stitch on this would fight the jacket. I really want the jacket to be the star and the dress to merely play a supporting role. So it's definitely going to be in a woven fabric. I don't know what bodice I'll use or what the fabric will be. I'll decide that after the jacket is finished. But as you can see, there is this constant dialogue going on as I refine my ideas. And that's really the design process, just constantly asking questions and making choices. So for the jacket, my star, I turned to another book in my collection, which is called Dress in Detail from Around the World by Rosemary Krill, Jennifer Weirden, and Verity Wilson. I found 3 silhouettes in here that are close to what I had in mind. Now, the problem, or what I don't like about this book, is that it doesn't show the whole garment. It will show a close-up or a piece of the garment, you know, that detail, which I guess is why it's called Dress in Detail. But it will show that detail of the garment, but it doesn't show the whole garment. But it does provide line drawings of the garment. So I guess you can't have your cake and eat it too. So there are 3 silhouettes in here that I really liked. The first one is this one. And I like it because I like this front detail here, how it drops down in the front. And I also like the collar, which I don't know if you can see very clearly, but it kind of rolls up and hugs the neck, which I think is very flattering. Also, another thing about this is that the original has this cut work embroidery on it. I don't know if you can see that, which I think will adapt well to the material that I plan on making. It kind of imitates lace, and what I see in my mind will kind of be lace-like. Now, the other 2 shapes in here, it was this one, which is a looser fitting kind of Asian feel to it. And then this one, which is a bit more boxier. And what I like about this is the borders that it has around the neckline, down the front and on the hem, as well as the border on the sleeve. And I'm going to reference that later on. So what I will probably do to decide on which silhouette I will use is I will make up a muslin of all 3 of them so I can try them on and see which one I like best. Notice that they were all pretty basic shapes, and that's on purpose. The fabric I intend to create will be elaborate, so a simpler silhouette will highlight it better. Next, I went into my stash to look for material, and I knew I wanted to use this crochet thread that I have. I have reds, I have different shades and textures of pinks, I have cream, and I also have these blues. So I decided that this is going to be my color palette. Then I remembered I have some satins in my fabric stash. I have a blue, I have a light pink, and then I have these darker pinks. So I want to try incorporating these as well. I think the combination of textures, the smooth and shininess of the satin with the chunkiness of the crochet will just make the jacket more interesting. So now that I have an idea of my fit, the silhouette, and materials, my next step is to play around with different ideas. And one of my favorite tools to use is a stencil. What I did was I just took tracing paper and traced around the silhouette of the garments, which was easy because the book had the nice line drawings in there. And then I transferred them to cardstock and cut them out. So this is how I use them. What you want to do is you want to find images. You can look for a magazine. Architectural Digest is a good one, or a gardening magazine, or you can use a book. I have a lot of books in my collection, inspiration type books for flowers like this one. And take your image and take your stencil, and then you're going to start playing around with it and see what you come up with. And it will give you an idea of patterns. It will give you an idea of color proportions. It will give you an idea of, where you might want to place different patterns. If you come down here, it would be interesting if that was all different color and then solid on the bottom, or you can even do it more like that. So it's a really great tool for finding colorways, working out proportions, creating interesting patterns. And then as you do this, what you can do is take your sketchbook, journal, whatever you want to call it, and then trace it onto your journal pages, and you can sketch out your different ideas. So it's a quick way to just make a rapid succession of sketches. Now, to give you an idea of the possibilities of this technique, I did this with a different sweater, and here I cut out the images instead of sketching them. I mean, you can use either way. And this is what that page looked like. Whoops, I'm getting caught up in my microphone. This is what that page looked like. As you can see, I have a lot of different ideas. And I jotted down my notes for different colorways, such as this one. I thought that this had a very Monet feeling, and if you knit it sideways, going from sleeve to sleeve, you can make those color gradations. You can work out construction techniques. This is an interesting design here. I thought, what if you worked half the sweater from the bottom up? You can incorporate these stripes either using color or a different stitch pattern. And then at the center, picked up these stitches and then knit sideways. And again, incorporating your colored or stitch pattern stripes there. So it gives you a lot of different ways to think about how to incorporate pattern. So try this idea. It's a lot of fun, and it really is a great way to kickstart your imagination. Now, the final piece of the puzzle will be, how will I use these materials? What stitch patterns will I use? Do I want a random or planned out design, something more symmetrical? How will I incorporate both the crochet and the satin? What is the effect I want? Do I want something open and airy, or do I want it more dense to provide coverage? And two things I do know. First of all, I want a floral theme. So I'll be gathering patterns for different crochet flowers, and that is how I will use a lot of these crochet threads. Second is the satin will be used more as a trim rather than a foundation for the whole jacket. So if you think back to that third jacket I showed you in the Dress in Detail books, where it had the border around the collar and down the front and the hem and the sleeves, I was thinking that I could use the satin in that way to frame the jacket. So these are all of the things that I am playing around with as I try to work out this design. It's not a linear process, as I keep going back and forth, and one idea will have this domino effect, and I'll have all these other ideas come from it, so it's a lot of playing around and sketching ideas. It's basically brainstorming and making sure that I get everything on paper. I mean, a lot of variations are already coming to my mind just by talking this out with you. When I am doing a design, I really work on an intuitive level. When I hit on something, when I get that feeling, I just know it's right. It's like, I have to make this. I can't describe it. It's just a knowing. So I keep playing around until I get that feeling. But it doesn't always necessarily come all at once. Sometimes a design comes out all in one piece. Every detail, everything works out. Other times it's a piecemeal project or a piecemeal process where I will be like, I really want this in there, but I don't know how I'm going to do this, which is kind of where I'm at with this jacket, right? I know I want the crochet flowers. I know I want the satin to be a trim, but how I'm going to incorporate all of those, I still don't know, and that's what I will be playing around with. When I do finally have it narrowed down to some really concrete concepts, such as which flowers am I going to make, or exactly how is this going to be trimmed. What I will do is I will take the muslin for the silhouette I've decided on, and I will use that to play around with my design. I will make photocopies of the flowers that I want and any other design details that I may have, and I'll work with them on the life-size muslin so I can see how this would all play out. Does it work better with color? Do I want to insert this here? Do I want to have this symmetrical on both sides, kind of thing? And I will save that whole process for another video because it's fun. I'd love to hear about the tools and techniques that you use in your design process. Please share them in the comments section. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share with your friends. If you want to follow me on my journey, hit subscribe and the bell to receive notifications when a new video is up. You can also follow along on my blog. Links are down below. Happy destashing, and I'll see you in the next one.